Refined carbs, the sweet poison.
Welcome to our program. Today, we're going to examine some information from the Australian Buddhist Benevolent Society. The numbers in this material are quite alarming. According to an analysis in the journal Nature Medicine, a staggering 60% of new type 2 diabetes cases worldwide in 2018 were linked to excessive consumption of refined grains like rice and flour, as well as starches and sugary drinks. 6 in 10, that's a really high number. Yes, and even more concerning, they state that a poor carbohydrate structure was the primary cause for 70% of new cases. This means that common foods on our dinner tables, like white rice, noodles, and white bread, might be silently harming our health. This is an issue that deserves our attention. So today, based on the scientific data you provided, we'll delve deeper into the connection between refined carbohydrates and chronic diseases. We hope to help you understand the meaning behind these numbers. First, I think it's crucial to clarify what refined carbohydrates are, right? This is an important distinction. Simply put, they are carbohydrates that have been processed to remove most of the dietary fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Examples include white rice and white flour, which are refined grains, and white sugar and high fructose corn syrup, which are refined sugars. I see the common trait they share is that they are digested and absorbed incredibly fast, causing your blood sugar and insulin levels to spike immediately after eating. A study from the Harvard Th. Chan School of Public Health has also confirmed this point. A rapid spike. What do the scientific findings say? It sounds like this isn't just a conclusion from a single study, right? It's not a single study. This is a common finding from many large-scale international studies. For instance, a major 2020 analysis, which consolidated data from nearly 500,000 people, 500,000, found that the group who consumed the most refined carbohydrates had a 33% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to the group who ate the least. That's a 1/3 increase. So, does that mean the more you eat, the higher the risk? Exactly. This is called a dose-response relationship. The more you consume, the more significant the effect. Another, even larger analysis from the 2022 Nature Scientific Reports involving over 600,000 people was more specific. For every additional 100 grams of refined carbohydrates you eat per day, your diabetes risk increases by 12 to 20%. If carbohydrates provide 70% of your total daily calories, the risk increases by 18%. But if it goes as high as 80%, the risk skyrockets to 41%. This dose-response effect is truly staggering. And I noticed the data also mentioned that the risk is even higher for Asians. Yes, this point is particularly noteworthy. The 2020 analysis performed subgroup comparisons and found that for a similar high intake of refined carbohydrates, Asians' diabetes risk increased by 51%, whereas for Westerners, it was around 22%. This is likely related to our dietary habits, since rice and noodles are a major staple in Asia. That makes sense? So how exactly do these refined carbohydrates cause problems in our bodies? It can't just be because they taste good, right? This has to do with things on a cellular level. You can imagine the mitochondria inside our cells as tiny power plants. Power plants? Yes. When you eat a lot of refined carbohydrates, your blood sugar spikes quickly, right? This is like suddenly pumping a huge amount of fuel into this power plant. The mitochondria are forced to operate at high speed to produce energy, like over-revving an engine beyond its capacity. That's a great analogy. It's an overload. When mitochondria process this sudden surge of fuel, their efficiency decreases, like an overworked factory. They start to leak out harmful byproducts. These byproducts are what we call reactive oxygen species, ROS. Reactive oxygen? Yes, you can think of them as the excessive waste and pollutants the factory discharges. Oh, and what problems do these pollutants cause? These reactive oxygen species trigger an alarm system in our bodies, activating a series of inflammatory switches such as the signaling pathways called NF-kappa B and MAPK. The result is that the body begins to produce more pro-inflammatory substances like molecules called interleukins, such as IL-1 beta, Illinois 6, and IL-23. Wow. So eating too many refined carbs is like constantly fanning the flames of chronic inflammation in your body? You could put it that way. And these inflammatory substances also stimulate specific immune cells, like Thursday 17 cells, causing them to release more combustibles, like IL-17. The result is that the body remains in a long-term, low-grade, chronic inflammatory state. This is like a small fire smoldering inside you. While you might not feel it, the long-term damage to your health is significant. This smoldering fire sounds like the root of many chronic diseases. The Harvard study in the data even suggests that what people once thought was healthier, substituting saturated fats with refined carbohydrates, may have actually contributed to the current obesity and diabetes epidemics. There is that theory. A Chinese study also mentioned that if more than 85% of your carbohydrates come from refined sources, your risk of heart disease is 2 to 3 times higher than the group with the lowest risk. Yes, these data are a real wake-up call. Hearing these scientific findings makes us reflect. Where do these ailments come from? From greed. And why greed? Because our preferences all come from the knowledge we've learned since childhood. They are formed by repeated exposure. Because of likes or dislikes, some nutrients become overly abundant, while essential ones are surely lacking, leading to all sorts of diseases. Therefore, where there is greed, there is suffering. Suffering is a kind of punishment. So, it's one of the 7 deadly sins. This point really makes one reflect on our relationship with food and our habits and knowledge from childhood. So, returning to a more practical level, in the face of all this evidence, what can we do to protect ourselves? The most direct method is to consciously reduce your intake of refined carbohydrates. That means eating less white rice, white bread, noodles, sugary drinks, and desserts. And choose their original versions instead, like whole grains, for example, brown rice and whole wheat bread, and various colored vegetables, fruits, and legumes. These foods retain more rich dietary fiber and nutrients. And what's the specific benefit of whole grains? The benefits are quite significant. A meta-analysis pointed out that for every additional 50 grams of whole grains you eat per day, that's roughly half a bowl of brown rice. Half a bowl of brown rice? Yes, you can lower your risk of type 2 diabetes by 23%, almost a quarter? Yes. This effect is the exact opposite of the risk increase from refined carbohydrates we just discussed. So it's not just about eating less of the bad stuff. The key is also to eat more of the good stuff. At the same time, we should also pay attention to the total amount and avoid having too high a percentage of carbohydrates, especially refined ones, exceeding that 70% red line. Exactly. In conclusion, I think the scientific data has made it very clear that the health threat posed by refined carbohydrates is real. This really needs to be taken seriously. It's not alarmist talk. The key is to find the balance in your diet and avoid favoring one type of food. This might echo the concept of the middle way mentioned earlier, everything in moderation. A balanced middle path. Thank you for this wonderful analysis. I hope this discussion helps you apply this knowledge to your daily life and make healthier food choices. Finally, I'll leave you with a question to ponder. Now that you've learned this, how will you reevaluate the balance of fats and carbohydrates in your own diet? Besides eating fewer refined carbohydrates, what other adjustments might be key for you to maintain good health?